Hi, guys. Hope all of you are safe and healthy. My name is Mars. I work as a career ambassador for technology and design career community at the DePaul Career Center. Before we like to start today's session, I just want to take out a few minutes to connect with you guys on an emotional level. I know we are going through real tough and unprecedented times, starting with the coronavirus pandemic and currently the distress caused by the recent horrific events. But I know that all of you might be feeling very emotional and sad at the same time. I just wanted to let you know that we at the DePaul Career Center are always trying to support you guys in the best possible manner that we could. We're always listening and trying to learn in order to improve our services. Being said that, I wanted to take out this time, and we want, as a career center, we want to because due to current coronavirus pandemic, there are a lot of insecurities and uncertainties in the current job market. So we wanted to help you guys by sharing a few success stories, by bringing forward some DePaul students who were able to land a job during this unprecedented times. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our first guest, Antonio, who happens to be a student here at DePaul. So, hi, Antonio. How are you? I'd like you to do an introduction to yourself, so that would be better.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty good. DePaul graduating now. I came here about 2 years ago out of from community college.
Nice.
Finished my actual degree here, computer science. Mainly just because of the fact of no, I didn't really know. I knew I wanted to do computers, but didn't really know which route I wanted to go. Computers, whether it be game or security or development. So I did computer science just because it gives you that well-rounded kind of background to kind of go into almost anything you want to try your hand in.
That's nice. So, are you done with your degree?
Yeah, so yeah, I actually finished as with everything, the changes that happened, with the tests and finals and all that. So I finished last week. So for the past week and a half, I've pretty much been just kind of sitting back waiting for graduation Saturday.
That's nice. And do you have any minor?
No, I did not minor in anything.
Okay, okay, that's nice. The reason we reached out to you because we heard that you have landed a successful offer from one of the software companies, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
ThoughtWorks, right?
Yes. So actually, I landed a job with ThoughtWorks last year when everything was still good. In October, I received an official offer. It was supposed to start this July after graduation. Everything was set. But then, with the coronavirus pandemic, everything was put on hold. I received a heartbreaking email letting me know that they're going to be pushing it back to February. I kind of scrambled, thinking, what am I going to do? I don't really want to be out of a job, but with the job market being the way it is with coronavirus, especially for entry level, it was a little challenging. So I scrambled and just got to applying.
Yeah, I can feel for you. So then you finally got an offer from them recently, right?
Right. So I actually, so that was ThoughtWorks. So they, notified me that I'd be pushed back until February. So again, I started applying other places, and I actually ended up getting another job offer with as a civilian position with the Navy,
Oh,
doing
that's nice.
augmented reality development
Oh,
for the
okay.
Navy for their battle management systems.
Oh, that's nice. So which the augmented reality side, right? If I'm
Correct, right. So it's going to be the official title is augmented virtual and mixed reality developer.
okay, that's nice. That's as a civilian? Is that
Yeah, it's a civilian position, so right, I don't have to join the Navy or anything officially, but I just work for the Navy.
where is it based? Like,
Yeah, so it's actually based in Virginia, in Dahlgren.
okay, and uh, so I just want you to like take this time out, and be very open. Kind of help our audiences, students who are graduating, recent students who are graduating. This current corona situation has caused a lot of uncertainty, and just walk them through like how did you when did you start actually like applying actively for positions, what was the response,
Yeah.
and yeah, to start with that, I think so would be.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, my advice, pretty much what I did is I started a spreadsheet on Google Docs, and I kind of just started, going through LinkedIn. I mainly utilize Handshake and LinkedIn because those are the two of the easiest ways for us to network as students. Especially Handshake is super helpful, because you can most of the employers on Handshake are looking for people that they know are coming into the job market as entry level or students. So I really utilize Handshake a lot for both of my positions, actually, for ThoughtWorks and the Navy one. For ThoughtWorks, networking, they tell us it in school all the time. The Career Center is always hitting on it about networking. And I can't tell you how much networking actually helped with ThoughtWorks. I submitted an application and I didn't hear anything back for 2 weeks. I finally sat here and said, it's going to be a hit or miss. I'm going to reach out to one of the recruiters on LinkedIn, just put the word out there. Sure enough, I reached out to a recruiter. She got back to me saying, unfortunately, I don't handle recruiting for that division, but I can give you the name of someone who does. So I put my foot right there. I messaged the next recruiter on LinkedIn. Literally the next day, I received an email for the interview for the first coding challenge. So again, if it wasn't for me, I think if it wasn't for me reaching out on LinkedIn to begin with, I probably would have never heard anything back, ever got any kind of response from ThoughtWorks. And that goes across even for the other positions I applied. I applied for a position with Facebook, which I'm still interviewing for. And again, I got through there with by reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, kind of just telling my story, how I had this position. It got put on hold due to coronavirus. I just wanted to reach out, make a connection, and sure enough, me and the person had kind of a back and forth for a little bit, and we talked out the situation, and they put my application in the hands of someone who I eventually got an email back for to start the first step. And the Navy job that I have secured now, it was all Handshake. I went through Handshake. I literally sat here, no joke. I sat here that the night before going through Handshake on my phone, just applying to jobs that pretty much fit, anything I had. And the best thing about Handshake is that as long as you keep your student profile updated, you have your resume on there, you update your GPA, your major, your graduation year, it'll really connect you with jobs automatically that match you. So, when you apply for these positions, you're kind of a shoe-in of what they're looking for. And that's really the thing I did. I really went for any jobs that was recommended for me and just started hitting apply. And I think that's the biggest thing is, like I said in the beginning, I had a spreadsheet. And anytime I applied to any position, I threw it on a spreadsheet. And I kind of formatted it so that I would have it, jobs that I got rejected from, jobs that I'm currently testing with, and jobs that I haven't heard anything from under review. And that's pretty much how I went. I shot out, applications. You put a lot of thought into one application, but you got to kind of do that 50 times. I sat here for hours just shooting out application after application.
So yeah, if I heard correct, you said mentioned something about Facebook, that you're still interviewing for them, right?
Correct.
That's great. That's great. So I just want to what was the time that you started actively applying for these positions? Like 6 months back, a year back, when you actually sat down and you said, I want to apply for these positions, and how many actually positions do you used to apply for, per day or per week? If you could.
Yeah. So I actually did that twice. So I started applying for positions beginning of my senior year. So last year I started applying for positions. Nonstop. I mean, I would say I'd estimate I deleted that spreadsheet, but I'd say I applied to maybe 3 positions a day, constantly on it, just random, big name companies, small companies, any company that had entry level 2020 graduate. And again, that was last year. Then when everything hit and I was back on the job market looking for a new job, I started back applying. We are now in June. I started back applying 2 months ago. So I started applying and just shooting at it. And again, 3 months ago was really rough because a lot of jobs, even if they had recently put up an opening, a lot of them got back to me saying that currently we're not hiring.
Yeah.
So it was really rough. So 3 months ago was really rough. I stayed on it though. I'd say within this past, so yeah, we're April, May. I'd say around April, or especially last month, the job market started, at least for us, for entry level. I started seeing more responses in terms of employers looking at the applications. So again, last month, anyone who's looking for jobs, I definitely say jump on it now, because a lot of them are definitely looking now to fill up those positions that they kind of postponed for a little bit.
Okay. So, Tony, I want to ask you, when you started, as you mentioned, you started for applying for entry-level positions, right? So when you started for applying for these entry-level positions, did you have any past experience, like actual work experience? If not, how you actually communicated that experience through your resume or cover letters?
Yeah, so that's actually interesting. So all throughout, my career, all throughout schooling, I heard internships help you get in the door. And I'll admit to you, I was a little lazy. I did one internship, 6 months. That was like a year and a half, 2 years ago. So that's really the only experience that I had to go based off of, when applying. When a lot of these jobs really look for that experience. So that being the only experience I had, I really focused in on personal projects and things like that to communicate to these employers that although I am entry level and graduating, I have the experience you're looking for. I'm motivated at least to learn whatever it is that you're looking for. So again, a lot of students do have the internship experience. So congrats to them because I definitely was lazy about doing it. But there are other ways for anyone who doesn't have the internship experience. I was in those shoes. I had 6 months of very very basic experience, and a lot of times when I go through these interviews and the employers, they ask me about it, and that's the only one that they really can hit on because it's the only one relevant to what I'm applying for. So a lot of times I kind of elaborate. I really, really, really detail what I did in that position to show that, although it was a short position, it's the only position I had, I did a lot of stuff in this position that I feel qualifies me. I always make sure to reference my personal projects and the experience I got from those personal projects. And one thing I also learned that helps is really just, even if it's just one experience or personal projects, they love to hear that, whatever it was that you're motivated about it. Again, the one little bit experience I had, I go into detail about what I did there, and they catch on to it. They give me feedback and they'll say things like, oh, it sounds like, you took on a lot, or that, you actually seemed like you wanted to do this, which I think that's really what they're looking for, regardless on how little experience you have.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. So because a lot of students have this anxiety that they don't have a lot of internships, and they really don't have actual work experience. So what
Right.
we at the Korean Center tell them that is to go through your projects and
Mhm.
walk through your personal projects, or even your the school projects, because those are actually part of your experience. And then the way you communicate those projects as a part of your experience, as you just said, can be actually very helpful for in terms of looking at a job. So
Yep.
Antonio, when you actually started applying for these positions, your documents, mainly the cover letter and the resume, were they ready? Were they ever reviewed by any member of the faculty or somebody at the Career Center? Did you seek any counseling or any advice from any of the Career Center reps regarding your cover letter or resume?
Actually, I did not specifically from the Career Center. I actually have a friend who works in the Writing Center at DePaul,
Mhm.
and I kind of had her go over my resume. Um, but the Career Center was actually really helpful. Honestly, I never got any views on my resumes for internships or things until the Career Center. One day I was going to go in the Career Center. They were full, so I had to set an appointment, and I saw an advertisement for Google was coming to the school.
Yeah,
So I was really excited about it. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my time in before the Google thing. And the Google thing really, they went over resumes in the
yeah,
during the Google thing,
yeah,
and that's what really helped me pretty much fix my resume to start jobs immediately. I noticed jobs started actually viewing my resume. If anyone ever used like Indeed or anything like that, or ZipRecruiter, it'll give you a notification when a recruiter looks at your resume. And once I fixed my resume from the Google session that was at DePaul, I instantly started seeing my resume at least getting viewed, which felt good because before that, I wasn't even getting my resume looked at. So which means at least something I did different. Those bots that filter out the resumes before a person looks at it, it was getting through that. And that was at least good to me.
yeah. That's what we tell our students, that Career Center offers a lot of resources
Hmm.
regarding your networking, your cover letter, and your resumes. So it's always good for students to come in and get it looked from another standpoint of view, especially the Google thing. That was one of the most successful events, I would say, where a lot of students were able to get their resume reviewed by actual recruiters from
Right.
Google. So it was, I think, a very good, nice thing. And as you said, that it actually did help you
It did.
getting your resume reviewed more, right?
It definitely did. Another thing, beneficial from the Career Center was with that Google. I spoke with the three Google engineers that came to DePaul. I added all three of them on LinkedIn, made a connection. literally the next day I filled out an application for Google for an internship. Unfortunately, at the time I didn't know a lot. I ended up getting an interview, the coding challenge at least, to interview for them. I failed it, unfortunately, but if it wasn't for me walking into the career center, seeing that Google sign up, registering for the Google thing, speaking with the Google engineers, I wouldn't even got that far.
Okay, that's nice. So have you ever seeked any other services or utilized any other services from the Career Center apart from the Google event, or any other, like, did you actually ever visit the Career Center?
I did, like I said, I did twice, maybe 2 or 3 times. The one time I actually did use a cover letter assistance was actually my sophomore year.
Okay.
I sat down with the Career Center person, and we went over my current cover letter, which was, well, my previous cover letter, which was horrible. And they really walked me through fixing up my cover letter, and even they even, it was cool. They gave me a way to a template build that they helped me work with, so that anytime I submitted a cover letter with employers, I was able to kind of switch out the main key points instead of having to rewrite a cover letter over and over. And that still is, a lot of jobs don't really look for the cover letter, but the jobs that do, I still utilize that same cover letter from sophomore year that I worked with the career advisor there in the center.
Okay, that's nice. So this was your first phase, basically applying for positions, and then the as you mentioned, even for the Google thing and the networking part, I think you did a really good job over there. So could you tell students a little bit about what's your process when you approach a recruiter? What kind of brief message do you tell them? If you want to pull up any of your uh, messages to any recruiter, I'm okay with that. But that's just upon you. If you just want to state, like, so students, when it comes from a student point of view, they actually kind of have they're very intimidated sometimes, like how to actually approach a recruiter. And during this Corona thing, considering, I think it's really important to conduct informational interviews, which we at the Career Center offer like resources on how to do that. And we believe that especially in these uncertain times, this would be one of the best ways to expand your professional network. So could you just like a little bit elaborate on how you actually went through this process of informational interviews and networking?
Yeah, it definitely is intimidating reaching out to someone, especially, they probably get 1,000. First thing going through your mind is they get like 1,000 messages a day, probably from students or people looking for jobs. And it's true. Um, anytime I set out to message a recruiter, I go very basic, I forget what class it was. I learned about the elevator pitch. You should be able to pitch yourself in the same time that you're standing in an elevator. I was in one of the classes at DePaul, and it's blanking on me which one, but and that's what I do when I go to LinkedIn. I start off, hello, whatever the name is. My name is Antonio. I am a senior at DePaul studying computer science with a focus in software development. Um, I see that your company is hiring for a entry-level software developer, and I would just love the chance to be able to tell you more about how I think I can fit this position. That's if before I apply. With ThoughtWorks, for instance, I reached out to a recruiter after I applied for the position, and I pretty much, the beginning of the message was the same. Toward the end, I just pretty much said something along the lines of, I recently just applied for the entry-level position that you had on the site, and I would just love love the chance to be able to tell, someone on your team more about how I think I can fit in this role. And that's a message I use for ThoughtWorks and for the Facebook recruiter I reached out in. So far, 2 out of 2, I've gotten a reply back for it at least.
That's
So
actually great.
and
Yeah.
that,
And
definitely, and
maybe
that's
that,
good. And
how many times do you even like hear back from them? Like, what's the percentage, or like, what do you think? Like, if you reach out to 10 recruiters, how many would actually reply back to you?
Exactly. Yeah. I reached out to a bunch of recruiters I'd say during my first job search last year, I reached out to about 8 or 9 recruiters, and only about 3 or 4 reached back out to me. The other ones kind of, I never received any reply back, any check mark to see that they even saw it. It was probably just another message sitting in their inbox. But the 3 or 4 that replied back to me, they came back. 2 of them pretty much said, hey, like, I don't handle that, sorry, and that was it. The other 2 or 3 did reach back out to me saying I don't handle it, but this is the name of a person that can. So
Yeah.
I usually follow that up because you don't want to just leave it dead, and you don't want to reach out to that person. In my mind, you don't want to reach out to them, kind of blankly again. So what I did is I asked that person, is it okay if I reach out to them and let them know that you referred me? And, out of the three cases, they came back with, of course, that's not a problem. And sure enough, that's what I did. I reached out to the next recruiter saying, hey, my name is Antonio. I reached out to so-and-so and they gave me your name. And I just wanted to reach out, letting you know that I applied for this position, yada, 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 just going basically similar to the same first message I sent. But at least this time, I feel I have those names in there. So it seems like I spoke with someone at the company that referred me, because a lot of companies, they see a referral and, to them, it's good. Like, okay, well, maybe this person knows you. Which in this case, neither of them knew me, but at least I had the name, which probably gave them the chance to give my message a second look. Like, okay, well, they mentioned this person, therefore, maybe I should just at least, hear them out or see what they have to say.
Exactly. So you think like those 3 or 4 that got back to you and corresponding with them, having informational interviews with them, actually contributed towards you landing a job offer, right?
Definitely,
So even the
100%.
Facebook thing, this was your same thought process. So you usually apply, you usually reach out to recruiters before you apply, right? If I understood that correct.
So I have actually had more success reaching out to recruiters after applying.
After applying, okay.
Hmm.
So do you like tell them that I've applied to this position?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. I will reach out to them and let them know, hey, I just recently sent in an application for this position. I just thought, again, be good for me, the chance for me to be able to reach out to you and let you know how I can fit more in this position.
Okay, so I think that's one of the best ways to do. And
Hmm.
do you want to tell us like how many roughly like interviews or different for different companies you did?
Oof. The first time last year I did about, let's see, I had ThoughtWorks, I had Google, I had Amazon. I actually was interviewing for. I had two smaller companies, and then I also had the company that does John Deere. I believe it's John Deere, Aldi. I want to say about 8 companies that I interviewed for. I got to the interview part for. In terms of companies that I applied for, out of the 8 that I actually interviewed for, like I said earlier, I had a list. I deleted it, but the list was somewhere around 45, 45 slots. But again, most of them being marked red as rejected, which you're going to get it a lot. It's going to be a lot of rejection, straightforward emails, pretty much saying, hey, unfortunately, apply again. You're not really what we're looking for right now, whatever the case may be. Even though all signs show that I fit this position, you still get the rejection. And you got to kind of look at that rejection, just keep going. There's a bunch of companies out there hiring. The salary may not be what you're looking for. This may not be, it may not be 100% of a fit, but there are a bunch of companies hiring, and especially coming in as entry, it's kind of just finding the best part that you can grab and just join a company. Because at the end of the day, you're there for the experience, and in the next year or so, you probably may not even be at that company, depending on your field, so having that experience, at least right out of school, definitely helps.
I mean, 8 out of 45, 50, even 60
Right.
something is not a bad ratio. Like there are tons of positions, and at the same time, there are tons of students applying for that position. So that's what we want to tell our students right now. So just keep going on. You don't need to get demotivated or just like feel emotional for that. I just keep improving your networking skills, which you said contributes a lot, and just keep going on, keep applying for different positions. And as you just said, you got to grab the best out of it. So
Yep.
could you like please walk us through like some of the main the process of the interview, or like how you felt the interviews, and like especially considering from a technical point of view, what do you think, how should students should prepare for interviews, and how just like you did it, you coped up with that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a big part. That's like homework in itself, especially interviewing during school. One of my best examples of the ways I think about it is with ThoughtWorks. When I had that interview, it was nonstop for the whole process. With ThoughtWorks, there was a coding challenge. After the coding challenge, you had a phone interview with the recruiter. After the phone interview with the recruiter, you had a technical phone interview, and then after that, you had an on-site interview. Throughout I believe the whole process took maybe a month, month and a half. Throughout the whole time, I utilized Glassdoor, Reddit, and pretty much, HackerRank. HackerRank, yeah, I didn't really utilize LeetCode, but HackerRank is, on par in my opinion.
Okay.
And really, I'd say just the research, going into especially it really paid off when I did the on-site interview. There were 3 on-site interviews. I was there, 3 interviews. I had the interview with 3 different people. I was there for 5 hours. And I felt a lot more comfortable because anyone, I had anxiety going to any interview, but a part of me felt so much more secure and comfortable having done my research on the company, on their site, on Glassdoor, seeing what other people said about the interview process, or kind of having an idea of what to expect during the interview process. It really made me feel comfortable when I actually sat with them face to face. And it was really just at that point more just being myself and kind of spewing out the things that I already knew. A lot of it you blank on when you're sitting there, things that you literally just learned. At the time I was doing my senior capstone project, and they asked me a question about it because I referenced it in the interview, and I actually blanked on what I was actually doing in class the day before. It happens. I mean, it's, that anxiety gets to you. You all in your mind, you don't want to fail. But I'd say the biggest part of all the interviews is the research. Just do your research like another homework. This is all it is. And except the only difference about this one is that, this is something that's going to pay off once you get out of school or whatever the case may be. You can land a job. So definitely do the research. I utilize Glassdoor for every interview I did. 9 times out of 10, someone else has done that same interview for that same position fairly recently. So you can get a lot of insight if you go to the interview tab of Glassdoor to really see what someone else may say that this job is going to ask you. And that really prepares you to kind of articulate your answers for it.
I mean, that's the best thing what you did. We also offer a lot of mock interviews at Career Center, but I mean, like doing a company's like research and knowing about the company itself is probably the best thing you can do. It gives you better advantages over other students who are going for the same interview.
Mm-hmm.
And for the initial phone interviews and maybe on-site interviews, not the technical part, where they ask you a lot of qualification questions, behavioral questions. Do you think Glassdoor or all those would be a good resource for students to practice with those kind of questions?
Definitely. Glassdoor not only, aside from the technical questions, they kind of give you a hint as to what to expect in terms of like just the regular, what is it, cultural questions, things like that, behavioral questions. They really give you an idea of what to kind of expect on the kind of questions that they will ask you. So it's kind of something as also if you're a person, I kind of had the advantage in the sense that all throughout high school and college, I have jumped from multiple jobs. I've always been lucky enough to be able to just jump from job to job if I didn't like it. So I've had kind of an idea of when it comes to those basic interviews, I've done them time and time again. So I kind of had the advantage of knowing kind of what to expect for those. But for anybody who may not have had that opportunity, it's really just being yourself. Even if it's a question that trips you up, I've done it multiple times in my interviews and still gotten far where I will tell the person interviewing me, even if they're regular questions, I don't know. Be truthful with them. A lot of times when you sit there and maybe try to come up with an answer, they can see it and maybe kind of catch the lie or whatever it is behind, and that won't move you forward. If you're straight up with them, you just kind of say, I haven't had much experience in that, or I haven't encountered a situation like that, because a lot of times they ask you situational questions. How would you handle this? And you can be honest with them and say, I've never experienced anything like that personally. A lot of times they'll rephrase it and say, okay, well, let me try this. They'll give you the chances. You just got to be willing to kind of just talk with them. I know it's hard, especially with people with anxiety and, all that. But, I always had a thought in the back of my head for me, to kind of help control mine is, just in the back of your head, keep that thought like, I want this job. If I do this for an hour, then this is the only hour I have to do it. For the next 23 hours of the day and the next hours of my life, I never have to do this again.
Right.
As long as I just get through it this 1 hour, I can freak out as much as I want once I turn off the camera or hop in my car, whatever the case may be. During my interview experience, it's a lot easier right now. A lot of jobs, at least out of the ones I've interviewed for recently, which there's been about 4 now, none of them have been video interviews. They've all been phone interviews. which is really beneficial. As long as, you kind of just sound awake, even if you just woke up, you're fine. That's there. You don't have to worry about dressing up. You don't have to worry about, sitting up straight and having your hands in front, and all that stuff goes out the window. As long as you can just articulate your thoughts and just speak, you really gotta, it's really beneficial right now. You really could take advantage of it.
So, Antonio, as you mentioned, you've been offered interviews at least from big tech companies. So, for like students who are recently graduating, there comes a question a lot of times: how important are tech skills compared to soft skills in terms of technology and design? How do you compare both of these? Like, is it must to have both of them, or just like having good technical skills would be good enough? So, how do you want to like go around about that?
Yeah, tech skills are definitely important. Any job, especially the bigger companies, they're definitely going to test you on your data structure skills and things like that. But what I've noticed, especially, one that really opened my eyes was the Amazon interview. Um, I didn't do so well in the Amazon tech interview. I say it time and time again, I wish I paid attention more in class. There's certain things that I still don't get, even though I'm at my senior year, that jobs absolutely look for. But on my Amazon interview, out of the 3 questions, I actually didn't finish one. I had the time. I had absolutely no idea how to do it. I submitted it either way, and I moved on to the next stage. I feel like a lot of the jobs really just look for doing what you can, and they really focus on not just your technical skills, because at the end of the day, they don't want just a robot sitting at the desk writing out code. They want someone that's going to collaborate with the team, someone that's going to be a good culture fit for their team. So having a good mix of being able to know, when you need to be a person versus when you need to like head first start coding, I think is very beneficial. And if you can really, even if you don't understand, I've had it at the ThoughtWorks interview where I didn't understand one of the technical questions on the data structure that they had for me. And I kind of just talked it out. I broke it down kind of like when you take a multiple choice test and you do like elimination. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I did. I kind of just eliminated out by talking with them, by telling them, okay, well, I know it's not this because this is, and, I just went over everything else. And, they were nodding their head, at least from my viewpoint, it looked like it was positive. They were nodding their heads like, okay, well, yeah. And then they kind of lead you to the answer. So a lot of the times I wouldn't say focus 100% on tech skills, because even if, I actually have a buddy who, amazing coder. Any questions I had during school, I was able to go to him and he just absolutely knew it. But absolutely no people skills. When it came to the interviews, he kind of bombed. Luckily enough, he got a position with IBM, but a lot of them, he would come to me all the time and ask me, you can just talk to people. How? And I tell him all the time that, a lot of the times the jobs are looking for tech people. Of course, that's your job. They need people who can do it. But again, at the end of the day, you can jump in there, but you could be absolute worst person to work with. And that's not what the companies want, because then that turns over high turnover, other people being unhappy in their position, being unhappy on the team, meaning you're resulting in you probably getting let go since you're the newest person there. So definitely it's good to have a good mix of knowing that what you know in tech, and then being able to just be a person at the end of the day. Everyone makes mistakes. Not everyone has the right answer.
Exactly.
If you just talk with them, because they're people as well, the interviewers, just talk with them. A lot of times they'll lead you on and kind of guide you on what you need to do and say.
Yeah, it's constant learning, I would say, and be genuine, but at the same time, be prepared.
Mhm.
So that's very nice of you to elaborate on that, because a lot of time students actually have these questions. One more thing I wanted to ask you: when you apply for different positions, do you tweak your resume, or do you modify your resume for to match the job description, or you don't? Because that's
Um,
that comes a lot.
Yeah, that does come up a lot. I've been told a lot all throughout school. Make sure your resume is not solid. You're supposed to change it, change it. I'll admit I never changed my resume for any position I applied for. The only time I changed my resume was after a class. If I felt it was beneficial to the positions I'm applying for, um, I added a specific language or your skill to my resume. Um,
Yeah, that's
but
what I mean by tweaking. You don't have to like just completely change your resume, but like you do
right,
for positions.
adding skills, I definitely feel that adding skills does help, especially for a specific, because all the skills, but a recruiter is going to see that paper and they're only going to think that what's on that paper. So a good way to do that is, put in your skills, but also if you have any internships, any projects, try to throw it in there mostly, because at least for me, what it helped was instead of me having to put a bunch of skills in my skill section, if you read my descriptions of like my positions and my projects, you can see glimpses of, oh, well, he knows this language or he knows how to do this, so I'm not just throwing skills. So for me, it felt like my resume was good enough to just continuously shoot out without tweaking. Again, the only time I really tweaked it was after a class, if I felt, especially like I took algorithms and I was like, you know what, I should probably put this on my resume, because I see a lot of times in the job descriptions, they're looking for someone who has algorithms, experience, who took an algorithms class. So I feel it's beneficial for me to put that on my resume, since it keys with majority of positions.
So yeah, that's really nice. That's what I wanted to know. Like, you do actually add your projects and
Mhm.
your school like classes or coursework on your resume, because from a student's point of view, that actually I think helps you, and that's what we have been advocating at the Career Center too.
Mhm.
That to modify your schoolwork and coursework as a part of your experience. So, I mean, there's a lot of learning, and you have been like very beneficial for a lot of students. I think so. A lot of students, I hope, would gain a lot of knowledge from them from this whole process. And when it comes from a student point of view, especially considering that you are from DePaul and you majored in computer science at DePaul, so a lot of students can relate to that. So, I mean, thanks a lot for taking out the time.
Yes.
Just a few things I want to ask you. Is there any particular or just general advice you would like to give to the class of 2020 for who's graduating recently, for applying towards different positions?
Yeah, so I mean, my advice for anyone graduating now and probably within the next year or two, um, everything's different from, at least from what I can see, from last year applying to jobs, getting a job, to now, applying for jobs. I think at the end of the day, no matter what's really important, at least to me, salary, of course, is always important, but to me, especially in these times, is culture. Um, from my point of view, you don't want to be stuck somewhere, especially now in the current time we're living in, where you're going to be butting heads with people, or, you don't agree with your company's values and things like that. So one of the biggest things for me through all the positions I've applied for and, interviewed for, is culture. And, that goes for anyone out there, the graduates, this weekend and, in the winter and next summer, really just kind of balance out, what you're willing to accept for salary versus, that workplace culture that you're going to be in every single day. Really take a look at that and really just stay motivated. I mean, it's tough right now.
Yeah.
There's positions opening up, but a lot of them, still they may be opening up, but that's just to fill up the resume queue so that when they are ready to hire, they're going to shoot out. So definitely just stay motivated, continuously apply, don't give up. You're going to get a call back eventually, I promise.
And keep doing networking. That's something, yeah.
Yeah. Networking is key, 100%.
Yeah. So, Antonio, it was really an honor having you today. It helped a lot of our students. I think so. It probably will when we post this. Just one thing, that if you would like, we open for students to connect to you on LinkedIn, and if they want to get some advice from you, would you be open for that?
Of
Uh,
course.
would you like to state your profile name or on LinkedIn, if that's okay? If
Yeah,
you're
of course. Yes, I mean, you can find me by my name. I think my official LinkedIn name, at least link, is Garcia Ant. So it's my last name and then A-N-T. You feel free to connect with me. I'm also part of I joined the DePaul alumni on LinkedIn. So you can find me there as well.
Yeah,
Yep, you
that
can
is another
definitely.
great platform that DePaul offers for the students to actually connect with alumni.
Exactly.
So we offer a lot of, I just want to end on a Career Center note, that we offer a lot of Career Center resources that might be actually helpful for students who are trying to find a job, especially when during these unprecedented times and when there's a lot of anxiety. And the platforms like Alumni Sharing Knowledge lets us connect with alumni like Antonio, who had experience in giving interviews for a lot of positions, applying for a lot of positions. So that's some hands-on experience that some somebody may not be able to give you, and especially somebody who's graduating recently and somebody who just graduated from DePaul. That would be something really beneficial for a lot of students. So I would like to end the meeting now. I would like to wish you the best of luck for your future endeavors. Hope you get the best job you like, and I'm pretty sure you won't have any difficulties finding one. So I mean, let's hope for the best. So
Yeah.
Antonio, it was very pleasure having you. Thank you. We like to keep like to keep other students coming in like this too for our success stories, and we'll try to share as many as success stories from DePaul. So best of luck, man. Have a
All right.
great day. Thank
You
you.
as well.
Bye bye.
Bye.